Stephen from the Redneck Garage. Well, today's odds and ends day, I can tell you that. It got down to about 20 degrees last night, so it was cold. Today is really nice. It's about 45. I've got my flannel Wranglers on, so my legs are warm. Got the hood on. It's sitting on here. I'm going to try to find my hood hinges. We're going to install those. I've got a couple tips on installing these body panels. And really the only thing we lack is the grill, and I've got some work to do on the condenser and the radiator and all that. So I'm not going to put that on, and I've got a body lift. So there's going to be a little bit of finagling around on that. But I am going to get the hinges put on the hood so I can just raise it up rather than trying to unset it and set it on, all that. You know what I'm saying. Anyway, so let's get started. Okay, I'm out here in the trusty Toyota, and the next segment that we're going to watch, a lot of people would say, hey, you're insane, or you're smoking crack. And I would say, that's beside the point. Now the question is, you know, I've had to replace the tub and the frame and everything else on this Jeep, and the question is, can I fit the tub of a Jeep in the back of this little bitty Toyota pickup truck? And everyone would say, no you cannot, because the tub is so big, it's bigger than the back of the truck. But for all you naysayers out there, this is your answer. If one was to take a Milwaukee 18-volt Sawzall to the backyard and cut the tub up into small, manageable little pieces, this is what you get. And yes, indeed, it does fit in the back of a Toyota pickup truck. Now, most of this was all rusted out. If you remember, I went ahead and replaced the tub from a used one here, so I had to get rid of this one. So I've spent the last couple hours with the Sawzall just cutting the crap out of this thing with a Milwaukee and a torch blade, which really held up pretty well. I was surprised. Cut it all up into small pieces, and now I'm going to take it to a freaking dumpster and chuck it. Okay, I just want to give you a couple little tips here as we install the hood. This hood's been sitting out in the weather, and so is the cab, you know, with no fasteners in here. So what I always do with these, they have such a tendency to seize up anyway, and I'm going to have to do some adjusting on it, and if I ever want to take it off, that's what I want to be able to do. I don't know if you can see down in there, but I can see the rust in the threads, and that is just the recipe for these seizing up on you. And especially if you're going to have to adjust the hood after it's on, you really want to just clean all those threads out with like your tap, and that will make your life much easier. Now when I install these, I'll use a good anti-seize compound just on the threads, and I shouldn't have any problems with them seizing up to be able to move them back out. That's just kind of a tip from what I've experienced through trial and error of cussing and having to drill these stupid fasteners out just because the threads had rust and everything in them. The hinge kit came with new screws, but you don't want to have to force those in there because you'll never get the stinking things out. And believe me, I've gone through that. And these are the hex head screws rather than the Torx, and these are just as bad as the Torx ones for stripping out. So what you want to do is make sure that you don't give it any reason to strip out. Now I ran it through these two, and I can actually just screw it down with my hand into the threads, and that feels good. I know it's hard to believe, but this hole is just a little bit off. So I'm going to open it up just a hair with my Dremel tool. Thank you, Engineer Johnny. Okay, so I got some copper anti-seize. I wear gloves because this stuff is really pretty nasty. Getting off your hands is a little difficult, but you know, whatever. Now I've got my nuts and bolts for the hood hinges, and I'm going to go ahead and start putting it on. And do yourself a favor and don't use power tools to put these stupid fasteners in, because I can tell you that you can over torque it and then it's impossible to get these stupid things out. Or if the gets cross threaded a little bit, you can hang it up. It is a pain. So I'll get these started in there. And the nice thing about chasing them with your tap is they just screw right in really nicely. You don't have to force them or... And these screws are really short, so I may have to get a little bit longer one just to pull that hinge up. If I can get to come up a little. Yeah. Alright, I got them in. I got to replace this one, but this was a pain in the butt. I had to take my Dremel tool and wallow out the hole a little bit, probably because it's a Chinese hood with a Chinese hinge on it, which was truly a pain in the butt. But we got our bolts in, I've got anti-seize on it, they've been tapped out, And I'm going to do the same on the other side, and we should be able to raise the hood. Hopefully! This is a Rugged Ridge 1120502, and I can tell you that I'm not even sure what all these parts are for, truthfully. I mean, it comes with the bolts. It's got nuts that there's no way, I don't know what those would fit. I guess maybe you drill it out or grind off the backside or whatever, but these bolts are really a little bit short for what you're doing with them. So I may end up getting a little bit longer ones. For right now they'll work, but that's really some crap right there. Alright, I'll be honest with you, I'm struggling with this piece of crap. I think part of it is the hood bolts and part of it is these hinges, the replacement hinges. I think what I'm gonna do is just get some longer bolts like this and put a nut on the back side, because there's something that's off about them. I'm not really sure what's going on with this stupid thing, but on these parts, the fastener on the Jeep portion works great, but the hood, which is a Chinese hood, could be a problem with, you know, just the way that was stamped or whatever. So I may want to just bolt it through. Anyway, I got them on, and I'm going to raise the hood up, just see what it looks like. All right, there we go. I can raise the hood up. It still needs a little bit of adjustment, but we're okay for now. The hood, the fenders aren't on all the way, and it's going to pull them in just a hair, so we're okay. Anytime you're doing any drilling or tapping or filing on this, you want to go ahead and wash it right away, because there's metal shavings here, and those will start to rust, and it'll be a big crap show. So go ahead and wash it off really well, and then we can go on from there. Alright, here's the bottom of the hood, and you can tell where the bolts don't even come halfway through, just about, and that's with no washer or anything on them, so we're going to have to get some different bolts for those. And on this side, that's about what you want, but those are just regular bolts, and it felt a little flimsy even then, so I may put a bolt on the back side just to make sure it gets tightened down, because I don't want these loosening up. But anyway, we got the hood on, so I'm happy about that. I'm not happy about bolts that come with the hinges. That was some crap. Now, of course, this is going to need some adjustment once we get our center section in here, because that's going to center up the two fenders, and then we can move the hood back and forth where we need to do it. And because we've got anti-seize on there, it should be pretty easy just to loosen those bolts up. So that's awesome. Here's the old hood, and it's exactly the same type hardware as the new one. So I'm not sure what those parts are for, truthfully. Alright, so the hood is on. That just goes to show you that something that should have taken like an hour to do, put some new hinges on, ends up taking like 4 hours, and you have to mess around with it and screw with trying to get the hood on right. And then ended up having to get on eBay, order some longer bolts that are the M8 1.25s to go through there, and I also got some backing bolts just to make sure that it doesn't loosen up. But I shouldn't have had to do any of that. So the Rugged Ridge 11205, I'll put a link in there. Do not use this piece of crap. It's just junk. And part of it probably has to do with the tag on the bottom that says Made in Taiwan. So welcome to the world of Jeep aftermarket Chinese parts. Got a lot coming up. I'm going to try to be getting the electrical portion now that the fender's on. I can go ahead and start doing the main wiring harness, finishing up all those connections on the inside of the hood, get a battery for it, finish up putting the starter, and we should be able to crank this thing up as soon as I get the gas tank in. Getting closer, so I'm excited about that. I'm going to be working around the cold weather, and I may not be as manly as Jerry laying in the snow, but it will be a little bit chilly, and that'll be okay. I'm David from the Redneck Garage. Keep turning wrenches.